I have approached Scotty D. I am here, and we have one little one that is sitting just on the edge of the den. So it seems like just the one. It looks like one of the younger two. I'm not 100% sure which of the younger two it is. It's difficult now. They both kind of grew up, and I'm not sure if maybe one, like I say, is unfortunately gone, or if there is a situation where both. But it's not Ribbon. Ribbon is a bit bigger. I mean, not Ribbon. I'm sorry, Djuma is a lot larger than that, and Djuma is quite mobile these days. Now, I'm not sure what's lying next to its head there. It almost looks like a bit of a cushion in it. It does look like pillow fluff, you're right, Kirst. So I wonder if maybe hyenas have gotten into the lodge, or maybe even into the DRC, and have decided to take a pillow somewhere. If anybody's missing a pillow, we have found your pillow. It is probably in a million pieces inside the den and all around, and on the way from here to wherever it came from. But it does look like that. I might be wrong, of course, it might be something else, but it does look quite fluffy and pillow-like, or jacket stuffing or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, somebody has lost some sort of fluff somewhere along the line. Now, this little hyena looks as though it's very sleepy, which is often the case in overcast weather like this. They kind of just sit at the edge of the den and wait and hope for adults to come back with bits of food. At this age, it's on meat already and feeding quite a bit of it. There goes some Egyptian geese. What are you doing here? Egyptian geese over this part is quite a surprise, and you can see even the little hyena cub is wondering what is going on with Egyptian geese flying over and watching with a lot of intensity. It's right, but while we watch our little hyena cub, I believe Noelle's found a slender mongoose, so let's quickly jump across to her. Well, our little one just started letting out a series of moaning calls, is how I would describe it. It's now stopped. I was hoping it would carry on, but it lets out these low little howls, and I wonder if it's just trying to contact call mom, or trying to just get some sort of company at the den. It's quite strange, because there's been nothing that's been happening around us that would have caused a little cub like this to make a lot of noise. I'm not sure what's going on with these guys at the moment. Like I say, every time I've seen them, they've looked skinny. They haven't looked good over the last little bit, and I wonder what's going on. I wonder if maybe something has happened to Gwen. I would love to know when the last time Gwen was seen, because it seems as though she hasn't been seen in a while. And the fact that this little one was calling the way it was almost like a plea for somebody to come. It's actually quite heartbreaking to hear it. So hopefully she doesn't do it again, or and that, well, it would be nice to hear the sound, but it's really difficult to know kind of why it's making that noise. Now, Snazzy, you're wondering if this little one is going to make it. I have no idea. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's quite young. It depends what's happened with Gwen. If Gwen is unfortunately, you know, passed on, or if she's not around anymore, then the likelihood of this little one surviving is pretty low. It's quite a small hyena still. It's still reliant on protection from its mother, and so the chances of it surviving and getting the nutrients it needs to survive is going to be quite difficult. In saying that, though, there's been, you know, animals' will to survive and animals' instinct to survive is an unbelievable thing, and sometimes you'll get crazy situations where an individual will be able to survive. The only problem is in Hyena Den, it's obviously reliant on its mother and reliant on its sort of mom to place it within the clan, which might make things a little bit difficult. Right, well, if shit calls again, we'll quickly come back to this area, but while we sit here, let's go back across to Steph, who's got one of the most beautiful antelope that we get here at Djuma. Well, just the one hyena cub at this stage. I wonder where Djuma is these days. And Djuma seems to have vacated. I know she's been seen on the dam cam a few times and around camp, so maybe she's on her own now and moving around with her mom, with Ribbon, and they're around and kind of doing their own thing and no longer bound to the den. But the one thing about this little one that surprises me is that if Gwen potentially was gone and she was no longer around, it means that this little thing has survived for close to 3 weeks by itself, which is way longer than it should be able to survive. I mean, it would be emaciated and completely unable to move. And so I don't know, maybe Gwen is just battling to bring food back, but that would surprise me, because Gwen was looking as healthy as I've ever seen her the last time I saw her at this particular den. She was when the day that they dragged that buffalo skin here, and she was big and full and healthy, and she was almost dominating of everybody that was here. And it's a strange situation. I know obviously that nature is wild, and we get a lot of things like lions and hyena conflict at times, and anything can happen, but it just seems quite strange. And the fact that this little one is alive means that I would assume that maybe Gwen is still around, and we just keep missing her. Becca, you're wondering if hyenas would ever abandon their cubs or their offspring. Not that I've ever seen or ever heard of. I suppose it is possible, but not that I've ever seen. Unless the cub has got an injury that is completely kind of disabling, where it's got maybe a broken back or something like that, you might find that the adult eventually leaves it alone and goes away. But that mother instinct in most of the animals out here is so great that they'll spend time even with a disabled individual, or even sometimes a dead cub. So I would doubt that the hyenas would leave them. They tend to have such a tight-knit social bonding. They're very tight with their little ones. You see them coming here and they groom them and they look after them, and it would really surprise me if we had a situation where they left them alone and just abandoned them. I have seen lionesses do it from time to time, particularly with individuals that are weak. I've seen them kind of just leaving it and moving off and kind of just leaving it to itself. And there's a female down in the south, part of the Southern Pride, I've seen her do it a few times, where she just literally abandons her cubs even when they're still suckling and they have to fend for themselves. It's a strange thing. So I suppose it does happen in some predators. Whether it happens in hyenas, I'm not 100% sure. I personally have never seen a little one abandoned, other than if the mother has unfortunately passed away or has disappeared for some reason. So it's a tough one, and I don't really know. Like I say, I mean, it's possible that the only reason that this little one has survived is that it may have killed its offspring, and that's something that hyenas have done before, and siblicide is sometimes a part of what hyenas do. And you might find that it killed that little one and was able to feed off that, and that's the nutrients that's kept it going for a while. But I mean, I don't know. It's a difficult one. There's a few bones around here. Maybe it's chewing on that and gaining a bit of nutrients. But there really needs to be quite a steady flow of food for a cub to survive. And so I wouldn't expect it to have lasted this long without Gwen being around. So maybe she's just come at different times, or I don't know. It's a bit of a sort of mystery at the moment. And it seems as though this year has been full of bush mysteries with the mothers. Now, okay, sorry, I missed your question. If you can just repeat that for me. So Robert, you're wondering if hyenas and mongoose, like the slender mongoose we saw earlier, are related? No, they're not. So hyenas are in their own family called Hyena Den, and the mongooses are in their own family completely. So they're not related at all, even though they have a similar face, I would say. I mean, they've got quite a similar kind of muzzle area and roundish ears, but no, they are not related. Two very different animals and different ways that they go about their lives. You'll find with the mongoose, they don't have a situation where it's a female-based society or a female-dominated society. They'll have an alpha pair, much like the mongoose will, and so it's a bit different between them and the mongoose and the hyenas. So no, they're not related. But this little one looks as though it's absolutely sleepy. It hasn't called again since it last sort of made those noises. It's almost as though it's now closing its eyes and just going to have a bit of a rest. This is what they do. Even if Gwen was around and we are seeing her frequently, this is what I would expect out of hyenas at this time of the day. They generally are fairly relaxed animals, and they spend a lot of time just sleeping at the den side. It's only when the adults are around do the little ones tend to play and move around quite a bit, but generally this is how they sit and they relax and they spend their time just taking it very, very easy. I was hoping, though, with the call that she made, that might attract the attention of some other hyenas and that they start to move in. You never know what's around. Maybe Gwen does arrive back, so it's worth sitting and just waiting and having a little look around and seeing. Also never know if maybe some of the clan males arrive. We know that there's some of the clan males have been moving around this area, and the last time we were at the den, there was a number of males that were followed Gwen and Ribbon back to the den site and to this area. So with that call, it could attract the attention of others. It also could attract, the attention of other predators too. Things like wild dogs, leopards, lions. They'll be able to determine that that call is not from a fully grown adult, and they might then realize that these little guys are still moving around in this area, and maybe they're going to come and investigate what goes on. It's obviously a dangerous thing for any animal to come near a hyena den, because if adults are around, you might end up getting a hiding. But if a lion, let's say, had to find this cub out like this, it would most definitely attack it. it. So while it has called like that, it's worth just sitting around, being patient. We've had a morning of little ones and cubs and all kinds of small things, and so our morning's been quite incredible. And if we just sit with this, maybe we'll get a little bit of luck. But while we sit here, we're going to have a short break, and we'll see you all on the other side of it. Little one is still fast asleep, so we are probably going to leave this little one to itself. I don't think we're going to stay much longer. Like I say, even though it's called and it's kind of falling asleep, there's no other responses that I've heard, and not really too much else that's going on with this particular area. So I think I'm going to carry on, and while I do that, we can go back to Mr. Winterboer, who is out and about and, well, has followed Scott's lead in starting to mess around with dung, except that this time he's got something that is creating a crafty ball out of it.